This is our VPP video for our Lesson 2 vocabulary words. Our first word is caricature. Hopefully you know what this word is already. A lot of times you can go to carnivals or fairs or even Disney World and get your caricature drawn. And so here's a sentence to help us figure out what it means. The best caricature, so it's a noun, it's a thing, captures the essence, the heart of a person's physical and psychological features. And so I'm going to go ahead and give you the definition because, like I said, most of you guys probably all already know this. It's an exaggerated portrayal of one's features, a mockery, or a cartoon. We often see caricatures drawn of people in pop culture or in political life, and they're oftentimes in the newspapers in the forms of editorial cartoons. So just think about people that are well known, and think about maybe one person who comes to mind, and think about what physical feature is usually exaggerated. Well, of course, presidents. There are always caricatures made of presidents, no matter who is in office. And so, our president right now, Barack Obama, if you were in class, I would ask you out loud what physical feature of his is often emphasized, and most of you, I would think, would say his ears. So here is a caricature of President Obama. Those ears, although he does have large ears, obviously they're not that large, but they're exaggerated for comic effect and to mock him. His chin is exaggerated as well. Our next word is antiquated. Leaders sometimes change antiquated rules to reflect the new realities in society. So antiquated is telling us something more specific about rules. It's modifying rules. So we have an adjective this time, and antiquated is the opposite of new. So this is going to be our context clue strategy. If you look at the word antiquated and you break it down, you're probably going to have the word antique come to mind. Maybe some of you or your parents collect antiques, and I'm sure you know already that antiques are pieces of furniture usually that are old. So that's our meaning for antiquated. Very old, no longer used or useful. Synonyms would be obsolete. Think about obsolete technology. iPhones, computers quickly become outdated. Archaic means very old. A lot of times we use that with words. We'll look at the word archaic when we study Shakespeare this year. Lots of words that are no longer used anymore in the English language. The opposite would be modern. So here's a picture to help you remember antiquated. An old-fashioned telephone, especially nowadays when we mainly use cell phones for communication, something like this, or any type of phone where you would have to dial like a rotary phone would be outdated. Our next word is opiate. Doctors administer opiates. So it's a noun. They're giving their patients something carefully to patients so they will not become addicted. Okay, you're probably thinking of the word opium. That will help you remember what this means. An opiate is a narcotic or a drug used to cause sleep or bring relief from pain. If you have surgery, you're oftentimes given opiates after to help you deal with the pain. My dad just had a double knee replacement surgery the other day, and so he's on opiates right now to help him relax and help him deal with the pain that he's feeling. The opposite is a stimulant. A stimulant gets you going and makes you hyper and awake, kind of like caffeine. Okay, but an opiate is the opposite, and it's to help remove that pain. Unfortunately, in the news not too long ago, the musician Prince died because he overdosed on opiates. So here's a picture. It's just a picture of a bunch of different pills, and so use this to help you remember what an opiate is. Our next word is gorge. Now you might be thinking about the geographical feature. We're not going to use that for our definition this time. We're just going to focus on one meaning of gorged. Little Johnny gorged himself on the candy he collected in a giant sack from neighbors last Halloween. Okay, he's got a lot of candy because it's in a big sack. Think about Halloween, think about trick-or-treating. You come back in and you just gorge yourself. You are not typically savoring it. You just want to get it down quickly. Think about when you have been maybe at football practice and you come home in the evening and you just feel like you're starving. So you gorge yourself on your dinner. It means to eat or swallow greedily. Okay, so it's a verb, and again, you're not savoring it, you're not taking your time, you're so hungry that you just want to get food into your system as quickly as possible. So here's a picture. I cannot even imagine trying to eat a hamburger this large and even look at all the pickles on top. But this is a picture of somebody who's going to be gorging himself on this hamburger. Our next word is demented. Hopefully you know what this means already. Aaron welcomed everyone except the severely demented autograph seekers. So demented is telling us something about the autograph seekers. It's describing them. It's making the autograph seekers more specific, telling us what kind of autograph seeker. So it's going to be an adjective. If someone is demented, they're mentally ill or insane. Okay, we're going to read a couple of short stories this year where we have some characters whom we would consider demented. They're deranged, they're insane. The opposite is sane. So, unfortunately, we just had a story in the news of the girl who was the singer from The Voice, and she was in Orlando giving a concert, and unfortunately, after the concert, a demented fan shot and killed her. It's just a horrendous story. Here's a picture of a character whom we would consider demented. I'm sure most of you guys recognize this. The Joker from Batman, somebody who is not in his right mind. Our next word is hone. The experienced barber knew how to hone an old-fashioned straight razor and give close shaves. Okay, so the barber is doing something. So this is a verb. Obviously, he wants his razor, his cutting instruments to be sharp so that he can do the best job he can on his client. So if you hone something, you're sharpening it. Usually we do use this word to talk about, knives, scissors, etc. But we can also use it to talk about sharpening or honing our skills. Hopefully this year you will be honing your reading skills, your writing skills in my class, your math skills with your math teacher, your history skills with Mrs. Corey, etc. The opposite would be to make something dull so that it can't cut. So that it doesn't work well, and that's very frustrating when you have a dull knife or a pair of scissors. So here's a picture of scissors being honed or sharpened in some type of device made specifically for sharpening or honing scissors. Our next word is dally. Hopefully you know what this word means already. Your mom might say this or dad might say this to you, especially in the morning when you need to get to school on time. Do not dally, so you're doing something. It's a verb, or you'll miss the bus again. So this is cause and effect context clue strategy. If you dally, you're going to miss the bus. So that means you are wasting time. Dawdling is another word that's often used to describe dally, or a synonym for dally. Loiter, that's kind of a funny word. Sometimes you see that term in front of stores or at shopping malls. It will say no loitering, and that just means they don't want people just hanging around doing nothing, because a lot of times that leads to trouble. The opposite is to hasten or hurry. So here's this guy. He's got a huge pile of papers or folders at his office desk, and obviously he has a lot to do, but instead of working hard to get through that pile, he's dallying. He's just sitting there with his feet up on his desk, wasting time. I'm sure when the boss comes along, the boss is not going to be happy. Our next word is amalgamate. Amalgamate. The two companies amalgamated. They're doing something, so that's a verb, and formed an international corporation. So we have two turning into one. So it's obvious from this that if you amalgamate something, in this case companies, you're combining them. You are uniting them. You're blending them. They're merging. A lot of times that does happen in the business world. You're consolidating. The opposite would be to splinter. Now, don't think about a splinter you get in your finger. Just think about, you could think about that piece of wood, I guess. It's a fragment of the original. Okay, it's broken off. And then disunite, to disband something if something breaks apart. So here's a picture for amalgamate, very different from companies merging, but just think about when mom or dad, or maybe even you like to bake, are making cookies at home. You have separate ingredients. You have butter, you have flour, you have eggs, you have vanilla, you have sugar, white and brown. And then if you're making chocolate chip cookies, you add in those chocolate chips at the end. You have a bunch of different ingredients and you're amalgamating them, you're combining them until at the end you have delicious cookies. So separate ingredients combined to make one tasty product. Our next word is felonious. The judge convicted him of felonious assault. This is modifying the noun assault. It's telling us what kind of assault. It's a felonious assault, so this is an adjective. I'm sure you're seeing the word felon inside this word, and hopefully you know what that means. A felon is a type of crime or a person who has committed a felon. They're actually called a felon. It's obviously something very negative. We've got a judge convicting someone. Of course, assault is never positive. So felonious would be pertaining to or constituting a major crime. Synonym would be criminal. So in our court system in America, we have two basic categories of crimes. We have felons and misdemeanors. So your felons are going to be, or the felonious crimes are going to be things like obviously murder, treason, robbery. Misdemeanors are going to be things like petty theft. If you are convicted of a felon in the United States, obviously you're going to go to prison. The length of time will depend upon the seriousness of the crime, but also you lose your right to vote as an American citizen, and that's going to be on your record the rest of your life. Another example of a felonious crime is arson. Hopefully you know what that means. That's when someone starts a fire on purpose. And so whenever a fire happens, the fire department investigates after they put it out. They send a team out to look at the clues to see if they can figure out if the fire started accidentally or something in nature, lightning bolt or whatever, or if somebody actually set this fire on purpose. Very, very serious. Our next word is beleaguer. Okay, this is our last word for this lesson. The home team beleaguered, so they're doing something, so that makes it a verb, and then routed, so defeated the other team, and they didn't just win by 1 or 2 points, but it was just a smear. The winless visiting squad. If you beleaguer someone, you're besieging them by encircling as with an army. Okay, so that's going to be more in a military context. In this sentence, it's more like harassment. So it's like the beginning of a football game before the first snap even happens. Maybe one team is taunting the other. Sometimes they both taunt each other. They're surrounding the other team. They're annoying them. They're just really pestering them. The opposite is evade. Evade means to get away from something or someone. So our picture here is from some type of soccer match, and obviously these players are not happy with a call that the referee made. So they are almost really attacking him, it looks like, at least with their words. It might get physical soon. They are beleaguering him because maybe he pulled a card on a player that they feel was totally unfair. Beleaguer. All right, this takes us to the end of our Lesson 2 vocabulary words. Don't forget to put your honor pledge that you watched this video on your Exercise 1 homework.